Hi, and welcome to the 5-minute edition. We're back from our break, which was two years long. But we're back, and we're going to taste through some of our beers. We're going to start today with Downstream Jam, which has a new look. We've been, in the last 2 years, we've been making some headway. We've abandoned the idea of labeling all of our beers, which we love this label, but we like this look a whole lot better. It's a lot slicker, a lot cleaner.
Runs better on the canning line. Everybody enjoys it more.
It does. So we've also sort of low-key retooled this beer in that time. This was a 4.7% beer, kind of the same processes, the same ingredients. We've upped it a little bit, and we've also changed our fermentation profile slightly.
More the kettle sour, I think, actually.
Well, we also use in a different yeast. Oh, yeah, I guess I did. Yeah, the yeast in the kettle sour.
Right, yes.
Right. So, well, let's crack one here.
Pours that beautiful color we all remember from Downstream Jam. Same cherries in there. Very similar flavor profile.
Speaking of cherries, we use Montmorency cherries, which is a sour cherry that I think the ones we use are grown in Wisconsin. The classic cherry to use is a Charbeek or Charbeck cherry. I don't know, I've never had one. They grow only in a very small region of Belgium. They're the classic to use in a creek lambics specifically. I have a contact that tells me that the Montmorency is very, very similar in flavor profile, so we went with that. Anyway, cheers.
Cheers.
Is that full enough?
Very full. Slightly more tart than what it used to be, but not by much. I think we're talking like maybe 0.1 of a pH, but it is noticeable on the tongue a little bit, makes it come off a little more effervescent as well.
So what we're doing here instead of, or the thing we've retooled, is that we're actually using a ale yeast that throws lactic acid during fermentation, but we're using that in the kettle. So we spend 4 days kettle souring.
5.
4 days with
Correct,
probiotics.
yeah.
So we use a probiotic that contains a bacteria called Bifidobacterium. Back in 2000, Peter Buchert was with New Belgium at the time and had just come from Rodenbach. Had won a medal at the Great American Beer Festival in a category that we had also won a medal. And I was talking to him on the floor after it, and I was just geeking out over Rodenbach, which I love. I love that beer. I love every permutation they've ever done. And I was asking him a little bit about it, and he said, well, it's funny because just before we left, we did a lot of analysis of what the yeast profile is in Rodenbach, because of course it came directly from the wood that they've been making Rodenbach in for, how many decades, I don't know. And they traced what I love about Rodenbach, this woodiness, this earthy flavor, to a thing called Bifidobacterium, and I sort of just cataloged that in my head. And then one day I was at CVS, and my son was seeing the doctor, and I was looking through the probiotics, and one of them said Bifidobacterium. So I bought it. We brought it back here. We selected out all of the anything that wasn't a bacillus, which Bifidobacterium is, and then we sort of isolated all the bacillus that was in it. We made the beer with that. The second time we made our beer with the entire probiotic, it was very much similar, and that's how we used to sour. But now we sour with that for 4 days, and then another day and a half
with the
inclusion of yeast.
Which gives it a nice tart. It's rounded out a lot by the sweetness of the cherries, so it's not something that's overly sour, even though it is obviously technically a sour beer. And of course, I'm not sure we touched on the fact that while this was 4.7%, this now clocks in at 6.5%. So it tastes great and gets the job done very well.
My favorite thing about this has always been the fact that when you're drinking it, there's a portion of it that really tastes like you're sucking on a cherry, and like you're sucking that last little bit of flesh off the pit.
Like it's got the sweetness, but it's got a little bit of the dryness there on the back end as well. Yeah, I mean, it just comes off as a great beer. I think that it's going to go over extremely well with anyone who's a fan of this version. Probably going to pick this up and love this one, probably even more.
Well, there's one other thing we should talk about. We used to, when we first conceptualized this, we thought, okay, it's going to be a ghost, a little bit of salt, a tart beer, but it never really sat well. I don't think with anybody that it was very unghost-like. In the meantime, our friends at Urban Artifact have become, low-key famous for their Midwest fruit tarts. And we talked to them. We're like, we have a beer that's very similar. What do you think about that being a style? Like Midwest fruit tart actually being a style that we emulate. And they said that was always their intention, was that it was sort of open source. So we now call it a Midwest fruit tart, which I think it is.
Most definitely. I mean, it's packed with just tons and tons and tons of real fruit. It's got a nice rounded out tartness, which is pretty sure a straight on description of the style that they were going for, hopefully. And I hope we did justice to their style with our beer.
They'll know because we're going to send them some.
Great.
But anyway,
cheers.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Next week, right?
Next week, yeah.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.